So, Prabhu said, Mataji, we have time till 8:45, that's Shayan Arati. We also want to do some Kirtan, that's also there. But what's very important for us is to understand what is the significance of Snan Yatra. And the significance of Snan Yatra is very important for us in this day and age. And this is something that we should remember very well. Now we should know that the origins of the understanding of Snan Yatra, they come from the Skanda Purana, they come from the Padma Purana, and they also come through our Acharyas. So this is something that we should remember. Whatever that we are speaking about is not a concoction of the mind. It is actually given to us by Sanskars. So this is an important point to remember. In Bhagavatam, there's a very important verse, 1-14 of Srimad Bhagavatam. That verse is the verse that you must keep in mind as we remember this beautiful pastime of Snan Yatra. And in that verse, Shukadeva Goswami is speaking to Parikshit Maharaj. And he tells him, Tasmat ekena manasa. Please repeat. Tasmat ekena manasa. Bhagavan sarvatam patihi. Shrotavya kirtitavyascha. Dhyaya pujascha nityada. So what is very nicely being said, don't touch the cameras. What is nicely being stated here is actually this point. Therefore, please repeat. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. Why is this verse important? This verse is important because it tells us that the mood of the devotee is actually to always have one pointed attention to the Lord. This is a very important characteristic and quality of a devotee. Very often in this material world, we are not one-pointed, but the challenge is we are always looking at so many different things. For example, in festivals, it is very difficult to actually be focused because we look everywhere. There is so much of movement, there's so much of unrest, and therefore it's very difficult to hear. So one-pointed attention is actually the hallmark of a devotee. If a devotee has tasmat ekena manasa, then Bhagavatam tells us he develops another quality. And that quality that he develops from one-pointed attention is what we call Drida Vrataha. He develops determination. So until we have one-pointed attention to the service of the Supreme Lord, then it is very difficult, till that point, it is very difficult to cultivate determination. Because what happens is, all the great demons of this material world, they also had determination. Kamsa had so much determination to kill Krishna. Hiranyakashipu's meditation was pushed by his determination to succeed. So determination on its own is nothing surprising, right? Even a materialist can be very determined. But the devotees, they are one-pointed. Tasmat ekena manasa. Because they are one-pointed towards Krishna, their determination is spiritualized. This is very important. Sometimes we think, that we cannot use our senses in the service of Krishna. But we must. Until we use our senses in the service of Krishna, our senses are dead. Yonta pravishya mamavacha mimam prasuttam sanjivayati akila sattva sakti-dara svathamna. In 496 of Srimad Bhagavatam, very nicely Dhruva Maharaj says, until I took darshan of you, all my senses were dead. But after taking darshan of you, all my senses have become alive. So remember, until we have one-pointed, single-minded determination, it is very difficult for us to actually be attentive to Krishna. Instead of being attentive to Krishna, we will be attentive to Maya. And that is the danger of this material world. Now, once we have determination and one-pointed attention, one may ask the other question, how do you get one-pointed attention? How do we develop tasmat ekena manasa for Krishna? We can only develop that if we have desire to serve Krishna. That desire is very important. Prabhu, can some of us migrate here? I think we can move now. So this is very important. Until you have desire, and the others must move up now. Move up. Come, let's move up. Until we have desire to serve Krishna, it is very difficult for us to be determined to serve Krishna. This is an important point, right? So remember, where there is desire, there will be one-pointed attention. Where there is one-pointed attention, there will be determination. So these three will align themselves together. And going back, Prabhu, to 1 to 14, you will find that if you have one-pointed attention, then how should you utilize your attention is very important. You should utilize your attention by constantly hearing. This is what we are doing. But it shouldn't just be on festival days. It should be every day. Every day we should hear something about Krishna. After hearing about Krishna, we should repeat what we have heard about Krishna. That is very important. If you don't repeat what you have heard, you are bound to forget. Which is why every one of us has to preach. If you say, I'm not qualified to be a preacher, you will hear and you will forget. Everybody has the duty to preach. You can speak to your children, you can speak to your family, you can speak to your friends, you can speak to the wall, you can speak to your mirror reflection, but speak about Krishna. That's very important. That is glorification. If you hear and glorify Krishna, then only you can remember Him. Please remember that. Until you speak about Him and glorify Him, you cannot remember Him. For a while you remember Him and then you will forget Him. As you see, this is a science. And only on the basis of hearing, glorifying and remembering can we actually worship Krishna. That is actually the meaning of worship. Worship is not simply standing before the Lord and asking for this and that. That is not worship. Worship of the Lord means there must be hearing, there must be glorification, there must then be remembrance, and all of that will culminate in worship. Very simple verse, but this is very important. And the last line of this shloka is very important to today's wonderful pastime, because it tells us Bhagavan Sadhakam Pratihi. Krishna is actually the protector of his devotees. Sometimes we may think that Krishna is not protecting us. Sometimes we think because of disease and death and old age, we think that the loved ones who are devotees, we think they are not protected by Krishna. But that is not true. The higher knowledge of Krishna consciousness is the protection of our consciousness. That is the most important protection that Krishna gives us. This body is temporary. So by nature, there's a lot of echo, Prabhu. This body is temporary. So eventually the nature of the body is such that it will have to go. But our consciousness continues. Our consciousness continues life after life. The subtle body carries our consciousness with us throughout. And therefore, we will never lose that consciousness. This is very important to understand. The beauty of Snan Yatra actually lies in the determination and the great quality of one-pointed attention of one devotee. And that is Indradyumna Maharaj. This is not Indradyumna Maharaj in the 8th canto Gajendra. This is Indradyumna Maharaj, the king of Avanti, right? Avantipur. He had a great desire. It is stated in Shastras that he had a great desire. And his desire was not material. His desire was actually somehow or another to take darshan of the beautiful form of the Lord. And so even though he was performing all his duties, Shastras tell us that he was tasma ekena manasa. He was doing everything, but at the same time he was always remembering Krishna. And this is possible because in 8.7 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna advises the same point to Arjuna. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu ma anusmara yudhyacha. You see, he says that you fight for me, but at the same time, you always think of me in the form of Krishna. So there must be a form. So Indradyumna Maharaj was meditating on Krishna, and he yearned to take darshan, the form of Krishna. This is the mood of the devotee. Or not the devotee never thinks, I have seen Krishna, it is finished. The devotee is always hankering, when will I see Krishna? When will I do service? The devotee does maybe daily service on Monday. Then he doesn't go home and say, that's it, now I have a leave from Bhakti for the next 1 week. The devotee, after doing that service, he goes back and he's starting to hanker. When can I come and do that service again? when can I come and see Jagannath again? You see? That's why Jagannath is so kind in this Snan yatra. Because after this, he has transcendental fluke and he disappears from our sight in his deity form. And we yearn for him until we can take darshan again of him. So this is mood of separation. So Indra Maharaj was very disturbed, not in a bad way, but in a very focused way. And he was remembering how to get deity darshan. One day as he was seated there, right, he had someone very close to Indra Maharaj was actually Vidyapati. Vidyapati was his right-hand advisor and very Brahmanical by nature. So he always revealed his mind to Vidyapati. One day, with great desire as he was thinking, a Brahmana arrived at the court of Avantipur. And he said, "My Lord, I have heard that you have been wanting to see the form of the Lord. Your name has spread far and wide. But today I am telling you, Jai Jagannath Baladev Subramanian ki. But today I am telling you that I have found that I have actually been given the great fortune of taking darshan of the most beautiful form of the Lord in this world. And that form is the Lord known as Neelamadav. Neelamadav. So then he described the form of Neelamadav. And as he described, Indra Maharaj went into ecstasy. Then he also said, I know where he is. He's actually, in a place which is known as the Niladri Hills. And that is where the last I heard that he was. Now at that time, they were not sure where this place would be. So Indra Maharaj dispatched 4 different great trusted generals. And he sent them all in different directions. And one of them was, of course, Vidyapati. And all of them vowed that they will not come back until they find Jagannath. And so Vidyapati lasted the longest. Everybody else came back. Vidyapati went deeper and deeper into that part of India until he came to the foothills of Niladri Hills. And there he saw a Shabara village. The Shabaras, they were actually considered to be swine herds. Right? In other words, they took care of pigs. And they were not supposed to be very clean or very cultured. But their chief, Vishwavasu, was actually the devotee who was serving Neelamadav. And Neelamadav was actually in Niladri Hills. But unknown to Vidyapati, he did not understand it. So Vidyapati reached the village. And as he walked around the village, he was very tired, very exhausted. And he collapsed. When he woke up, he found that Lalita, the daughter of Vishwavasu, had taken good care of him. And so she took care of him in the house of Vishwavasu. And daily he was getting strength. And that was, of course, Vidyapati. But Vidyapati realized one thing very interesting. Every day, Vishwavasu had a very standard routine. In the morning, he would leave and he would go deep into the hills. But when he left, he would bring some flowers and he would bring some offerings. And he would not smell very nice. Because after all, he wasn't a cowherd, he was a swineherd, right? Taking care of pigs. Pigs don't smell very nice. Don't try it, but they don't smell very nice. So then what happened was, in the evening, there would be a transformation to Vishwavasu. Vishwavasu would come back and he would be completely fragrant. And everybody would think, how is this possible? How is it, especially Vidyapati, where is he going? And how is it that he's able to come back smelling so divine and transcendental? So at that point of time, Vidyapati started suspecting that Vishwavasu must be having darshan of the long sought after Neelamadav. So he turned to his wife Lalita and said, Lalita, by then, by the way, right, he had fallen in love with Lalita, Lalita had fallen in love with him, and they had gotten married. Now, even though he had gotten married, he had started Grahastha life in the foot of Niladri Hills, it did not mean that Vidyapati had lost focus of his purpose. This is very important. We may have so many duties amongst us to do, but it doesn't mean we lose focus of Krishna. We have our children, we have our parents, we have so many things to do, our work, but it doesn't mean we lose focus on Krishna. So Vidyapati was always alert to them. And so he asked his wife Lalita, where does my father-in-law go and what does he do? And at that point Lalita says, I can't tell you that. It's a promise I've given you. Vidyapati said, you are my wife. There should be no secrets between us. Let me know. And so at that point Lalita with hesitation said, my father is worshipping a beautiful deity, and that deity is known as Neelamadav. When Vidyapati heard that, his heart skipped a beat. And he came to know immediately that this is the reason why Krishna had sent him to the Shabra hill, to the Shabra village, and to the foothills. He now understood the hand of Krishna. You see, when a devotee has desire to serve Krishna, when a devotee is one-pointed in attention to Krishna, when a devotee is determined, right, to serve and do something for Krishna, Krishna will reciprocate. It's just a question of time, but he will reciprocate. And so, Vidyapati said, Lalita, somehow let me go and take darshan. After much pushing, Prabhus, we can move forward somehow. Someone, come. Prabhus, come. Let's squeeze a bit. Okay? We can come. We can even sit on each other's laps if necessary. Let's move. You're very slow to move, Prabhus. Come on. We can squeeze. You can come up right to here. I'll move this. Anybody wants to sit on the Vyasasan with me? Also come. You can come. Right? Just come forward. Let's move. Otherwise, the poor devotees behind is very difficult. It's only by Jagannath's mercy, that nobody has, that stairs is such a dangerous thing for people to sit. Sometimes I've seen devotees sitting down in ecstasy that they go to sleep during lecture, and they almost slip down, but Krishna saves them. So now what happened was, after much pushing, Lalita confessed to Vishwavasu that I have told the secret of Neela Madhav to my husband. Vishwavasu was angry, but eventually he decided, never mind. Now I must bring my son-in-law. So Vishwavasu said, I will bring you, but I'm not happy. Because Vishwavasu's mood was that he did not want to share Neela Madhav with anyone. He was very proprietary-like. He wanted to keep Neela Madhav to himself. This is a phenomenon that sometimes we have. When we have a service, we start thinking, this is my service. Anybody comes into my territory, back off. This is my service. And that's very dangerous. Because when we do that, we don't realize that service by nature is transcendental. It belongs to no one. And service must always be offered to Krishna. And Krishna decides who will do the service. We don't decide who does the service. So Vishwavasu was very proprietary. But with great effort, he brought Vidyapati. So now he told him, I will bring you, but I will blindfold you. Another obstacle. But Vidyapati is smart. He took some mustard seeds, and as he was blindfolded, as he went, he dropped the mustard seeds. Because he knew that they will grow after the rainy season, and he can follow them. So he was very intelligent. Krishna gave him this intelligence. So they went through the forest, and finally they reached the lake of Rohini Kund. And right at the lake of Rohini Kund, there was the beautiful Nilagiri hills. And as they stood there, Vishwavasu said, hide first. Why? Because they were hearing the beautiful Purusha Shukta prayers. And then Vidyapati realized, my God, the Devatas are actually here. And he saw that the Devatas, Indra, Brahma, all the Devatas, they were performing Gaura Arati. And they were performing Arati actually for the beautiful form of Neela Madhav. And then they left. Then Vishwavasu said, come, now we can see. So Vishwavasu introduced Vidyapati to the beautiful form of Neela Madhav. And he said, my Lord, it is so nice to see you today. How have you been? I hope your day was good. By the way, I brought my son-in-law. His name is Vidyapati. And that's really nice. Sometimes we don't realize that Krishna is personal. And we stand before Krishna. And we think that, well, Krishna knows everything, so I don't have to say anything. But this is the mood of a devotee. You all know Burijan Prabhu? Some of you may have heard. Burijan Prabhu is a senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada. When I went to Govardhan last year, right, he has a Govardhan retreat center. And the retreat center is just next to the foothills of Govardhan, which means you can sit there and you are seeing Govardhan. So he brought me to this space there, and he told me to sit. And he said, spend half an hour now just talking to Govardhan. But before you talk to him, introduce who you are. And he said, don't take for granted that you shouldn't introduce yourself. It's rude. And therefore, Vishwavasu introduced Vidyapati. And after that, he said, Lord, I will go and take some offerings. And he told Vidyapati, you wait here and talk to the Lord in the meantime. So at that point of time, Vidyapati was so happy. As he looked around the beautiful form of the Lord, then he looked at Rohini Kund. And as he saw Rohini, he saw a bird flying by. And the moment the bird flew by, it just fell into the lake because it was the time of his death. But to his surprise, as he came out of the lake, the bird had assumed the four-handed form of the inhabitants of Vaikuntha Loka. When Vidyapati saw that, he thought, what is the point of me living now? I might as well just jump in the lake and I will go back, I will be liberated. And just when Vidyapati was going to do that, Neelamadhav spoke and said, Vidyapati, don't only think of yourself. You have to think of me. I want you here for a purpose. So this is not the time for you to go. Come and sit with me. And then Vishwavasu came. And Vishwavasu did all the nice arrangements. And as he was praying, suddenly he heard the voice of Neelamadhav. And he thought, who is that speaking? Because Neelamadhav had never spoken back. And now Neelamadhav said, I am speaking to you. And I am Neelamadhav. And at that point of time, Vishwavasu said, can it really be you, O Lord? And the Lord said, what is so surprising about me speaking? I am the Lord, I can speak. And then he said, I have great news for you. I have lived under your shelter for so many years, and I'm so happy with your worship. But now I want to be known throughout the three worlds, Therefore, please do one thing. From now on, I will never be seen in this form again. And I will come to this world in a completely different but equally transcendental form. So Vishwavasu, thank you for all your work. And now I want Vidyapati's king, Indradyumna Maharaj, to actually take the stage to worship me worldwide, universe-wide, so that everyone will know my glories. And Neelamadhav kept quiet. Vishwavasu was heartbroken because he thought, my Lord, I've served you all this time, and now you're going to leave me. You see, this is a very important point. Sometimes when we serve Krishna, if we are not careful, we develop expectations from Krishna. You know, we think, Krishna, I've served you so long, you must give me a nice wife, a nice husband, a nice child, a very good house, you must throw in a car, and everything should go well. We always think when we take up Krishna consciousness, everything will be cushy, cushy, cushy. But the truth of the matter is, if Krishna is kind to us, he will really test our resolve and determination. Because it's so easy for us not to become attached to Krishna, but to become attached to our expectations from Krishna, which are two different things, by the way. Two different things. So Vishwavasu became first disappointed, then he became angry. He thought, how come Neelamadhav all this time never spoke? And why when he spoke, he decided he will leave? The only difference now is you, my son-in-law. You must have spoken some things in his ears. In other words, in Singapore slang, you must have psychoed Neelamadhav and told him something and convinced the Lord to change his mind. Now we all know Krishna cannot be convinced by anyone. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He will decide what he wants. But Vishwavasu's love for Krishna was very personal, and he got very upset. So he turned and blamed another devotee, which is not very good, and we should be very careful. So the next time you have a service and suddenly for some reason you cannot do the service, don't blame your teammate or somebody else who's coming to replace you. They have nothing to do with it. It's up to Jagannath. That we must remember. So what happened was, Vishwavasu then caught Vidyapati, tied him up, and brought him back and told him, I will not allow you to go back to see the king of Avantipur. Because if you don't go back, Neelamadhav will stay. Vidyapati was very crestfallen. In the night, Lalita came and saw him all tied up like a prisoner. And he said, Lalita, I have come here to serve my king Indradyumna. And now I want the Lord to be glorified throughout the world. And I want the king to serve him. That was the king's desire. The Lord also told me that. Allow me to leave so that I can fulfill the Lord's mission. Lalita hesitated. She thought, if you leave, my father will be angry. And second, when you go back to the kingdom, you will forget me. So what to do? And Vidyapati said, I will never forget you. Give me 2 moons and I will come back. But let me go. And so she released him. And he went back and he saw his king Indradyumna. And he said, Great King Indradyumna, Neelamadhav, the great Neelamadhav, he has spoken. And I've seen him. And he wants you to come and glorify him throughout the world. Indradyumna Maharaj became very happy. And he came with an entire army, not to fight, but to receive the Lord. And when he came to that place, Vidyapati brought him all the way through the forest, counting the mustard plants and making sure he could tail his way back. But something was wrong. He saw terrible omens. Jackals were howling, donkeys were braying, the sky was reddish, and everywhere there was the crowing of the cawing of the crows, which is not very good normally. And he realized something was wrong. When he reached the foot of Niladri hills, the door to Neela Madhav was open, and there was no Neela Madhav. And Vidyapati became very sad. And I cannot. Then they were thinking, how did this happen? And now both of them thought, the person who must have done this is Vishwavasu. Notice how we keep blaming each other, right? So now they thought Vishwavasu did this now. So what did they do? They completely down, and they saw Vishwavasu sitting down, very forlorn. And Indradumna Maharaj tied him up, got his soldiers there, and told him, where have you hidden Neela Madhav? And Vishwavasu said, foolish man, it is because of you that Neela Madhav has disappeared, and he will never be seen again. You are the person responsible for this. And as they were going up and down, blaming each other, Narada Muni comes. Narada is everywhere, isn't it? As a pure devotee, he steps in at always the right time. And Narada comes and tells Indradumna Maharaj and Vishwavasu, please don't blame each other. This is the Lord's doing. And the Lord has a plan. He will no longer be in this universe as Neela Madhav, but he will come in a beautiful, beautiful form, which will be so striking and unique that no one has ever seen him in all the three worlds. And he will come with his brother Baladev, and he will come with his sister Subhadra, right? So last time it was Neela Madhav, now for one you get three. That's the beauty of the Lord. So Narada said, all you have to do now is you should build a beautiful temple like never built before. And then Indradumna Maharaj, you will come with me. Guest of honor for the temple will be Brahmaji himself. Can you imagine if we had Janmashtami this year and we call Brahma to come here? It'll be very interesting. I'll tell you what happens after this. You may decide not to do it. So what happened was, Indradumna Maharaj became so happy and he thought Krishna really has a plan. He disappeared in one form, but he's coming in another. See the mood of a devotee. When a devotee is tasma ekena manasa, one-pointed in attention, even though sometimes there can be so many reversals, the determination never goes, right? And the desire to serve doesn't diminish. And Krishna reciprocates. See, the whole Bhagavatam principles are in this wonderful pastime. And so Vishwavasu said, I will also help. And Narada said, you must, because you are a dear servant of the Lord. Vishwavasu said, my people can do hard labor. Let us help to build the temple. And after building, Indradumna Maharaj, you go and call Brahma. Vidyapati said, I will keep the fire of the sacrifice burning. So everything is ready. Just like here, Sudarshan Prabhuji will get everything ready for the Homam. So that way, Vidyapati said, let me get everything ready so that when we bring Brahma, we are all ready to start the program. And so everybody was fired up. And Narada personally brought Indradumna Maharaj up to Satyaloka. And mind you, it is very difficult. Only a very pure person can go to the topmost planet of this material world. Because don't forget, Brahmaji is a very powerful personality. And so, Brahmaji was doing something. He's always busy in creation. And therefore, Indradumna Maharaj had to wait for a while. And then he invited Brahmaji and he left. Just before he left, Brahma turns to Narada and says, I hope his waiting here does not impact his time in the material world, because our time difference is quite a bit. And Narada thought, let us see what Krishna wants. And so, Indradumna Maharaj flies down without any aeroplanes, right, by the transcendental mercy of the Lord and his pure devotee Narada. And he appears right where the beautiful temple is built. He looks at the temple and says, wow, they have finished the temple in double quick time. Because I just spent half an hour with Brahma and I came back. And they've done the temple. It's amazing. And so he walked around. But he couldn't recognize anyone. He looked everywhere. He couldn't know who was this person, who's that person. Then he came to the fire spot and he saw someone that looked just like Vidyapati. And he said, "Are you Vidyapati?" He said, "No, I'm Vishnu Sharma." "Why are you saying I'm Vidyapati?" "Vidyapati is my long ago ancestor." Indradyumna Maharaj's heart skipped a double beat. Right? You've heard of palpitations, isn't it? This is a really, really terrible news he heard. He said, "What do you mean ancestor?" Vidyapati was sitting here, keeping the fire going. So then Vishnu Sharma says, "Who are you?" He said, "Do you not know me? I am King Indradyumna." And he laughed and said, "You cannot be King Indradyumna. King Indradyumna has passed into legend. Centuries and centuries ago, we heard of a great King Indradyumna who built this temple. The present king is Galamadav. And he, with great effort, unearthed this temple which was buried under sand. And he has made this temple ready. But we never have heard of Indradyumna." Then he asked, Indradyumna Maharaj asked, "What day is this? What year is this?" And he realized this was centuries after the last half an hour invitation to Brahma. And Indradyumna Maharaj's heart sank. Galamadav the king came and said, "Who is this impostor who is saying that he's Indradyumna?" And Indradyumna said, "I am the king, and I must still bring Jagannath down. It is still my duty. I have lost my queen, Gundicha. I have lost everyone. But I've lost Vishwavasu. I've lost my dear Vidyapati. But I will not stop. I will not stop. It is still my duty to bring Jagannath. And Brahma is still going to come right away. So I am Indradyumna. Please allow me to do my service." And for a while, no one believed him until a crow on the tree started crowing. And the crow only would crow one word, "Rama, Rama, Rama." And everyone turned to the crow, and the crow said, "My name is Bhushandi. And I've been a crow as long as Lord Ram was present on this earth." That's a long time ago. "And I can be the witness to tell you this gentleman standing here is not an impostor. He is Indradyumna. And he is going to finish this temple by his determination and his desire." And so Galamadav then fell at the feet of Indradyumna Maharaj and said, "Maharaj, this whole temple is yours. This kingdom is yours because you are our great ancestor. Now tell us what to do." And so Indradyumna Maharaj said, "Please, before I tell you what to do, tell me what happened to those who are waiting for me. They depended on me." And Galamadav said, "Vidyapati waited at the yajna pit for a whole life. Everybody gave up. His tears were the tears that kept the fires burning. Instead of ghee keeping the fires burning, it was his tears that kept the fire burning until he left his life because of old age. Vishwavasu was waiting and waiting for you and the Lord to come. But when nothing happened, he went into the forest, remembering his dear Nilamadav, and he was consumed by the forest fire. Your queen Gundicha waited and waited for years and years as a paragon of chastity. And after you did not come, she perished. All that you have loved, everyone have gone." And for a while, Indradyumna Maharaj remembered this. And then he shook it off and said, "I must do my service to Jagannath. Now, let us prepare to receive Jagannath. Because now, we have built the temple. And I pray now that some direction will come from the Lord." And Narada came. And Narada came and said, "My dear, dear Indradyumna Maharaj, you have done so much. Now know that the Lord is coming by the shores, right, of this shore, by the shores of Nilachala. Wait there. And in a few days, the Lord will come as Daru Brahma. He will come in the form of a log, and you must bring him in. And then, once you bring him in, you must carve the deities, and they will manifest themselves." So now, Vidyapati's ancestor, or rather Vidyapati's descendant, who is Vidyapati's descendant, who is Vishnu Sharma, he sat down and started the sacrifice. Galamadav summoned all the people to come, and they started making the place ready for the Lord to come. Days and months passed, but the Lord did not come. One day, Indradyumna Maharaj heard a great big log has arrived in the ocean, but nobody can move it onto land. They are trying and trying and trying, but nobody can. Suddenly he heard that one Shabra was able to move it all by himself. And he was thinking, who is this man? I must go and see him. And he went to the shores. And when he saw the Shabra, he thought it was Vishwavasu. But this Shabra said, I'm not Vishwavasu. I am his descendant. And my name is Veerabhadra. And he thought, this must be Vishwavasu, who has come to help me now. And so he embraced him. And he said, now you bring the log in. And we will put the log and we will pray to Krishna to descend. And so he moved the log into the palace. And there, so many architects came. So many architects and sculptors came and tried to hit the wood. But the Shastras tell us none of them could even pierce the log. Until one old Brahmana came one evening. And he said, my name is Ananta Maharana. And I am just a very ordinary man, but I've come to do it. Unknown to everyone, he was Vishwakarma, the celestial architect. And he had come to do service for the Lord. He said, I have only one condition. 21 days, you don't disturb me. We will close the door, right? And you put food outside, you don't disturb me. And after 21 days, you will take darshan of the Lord. Which Indradina Maharaj said, it's a fair deal. I've waited for lifetimes. One is 21 days. Go and do what you have to do. And so he and Galamadav waited. First 3 days, plenty of knocking, banging, and you know he's doing work. Not only that, but actually the Shastras tell us that sometimes they would see flowers from the sky falling into the room. And they knew the Devatas were actually personally overseeing, and they were also watching, they were blessing this amazing spiritual service. Until 3 days, no, 6 days before, nothing happened. Everything became quiet. No movement. There was not even a breath. So then Indradina Maharaj became anxious. Does it mean now, did he die? Has he gone to sleep? He was old after all. What if he had a heart attack? You know, in those days there was no phone. He couldn't call in, couldn't call out, nothing. So how to know? He said, I'm going to go in. Galamadav said, please don't. Vishnu Sharma said, please don't. Even Veerabhadra said, don't. But Indradina Maharaj said, I have to go in and see what happens. And so he pushed the doors open. There was no Vishwakarma, but there were 3 beautiful forms of the Lord. Initially, Indradina Maharaj thought, these are the most odd forms that I've ever seen. Right? And then he got a shock. He said, the forms are not complete. No hands, no feet. Eyes too big. No ears. What form is this? It is all my fault. Because I stepped in, I did not have faith in Vishwakarma, Ananta Maharana. Therefore this has happened. The Lord has punished me and I have failed the Lord. And that night, Indradina Maharaj thought, I should take my life. I should take my life. And at that point of time, Narada came. And not only did Narada come, but Brahmaji also came. And together they consoled the king and said, you are mistaken. The form of the Lord is not accidental. No form of the Lord is ever accidental. The Lord has transcendently manifested His form. And His form is perfect, O King. He has come to defy the impersonalists who say that the Lord cannot perform any actions because He has no hands and no feet. You know, in impersonalism, we normally say that the Lord is void. He has no hands, He has no feet, He's blind, He's lame, right? But now the Lord has come in this form to show that He may appear not to have feet, but He will travel all over the universe. And isn't that what Jagannath does every year? Jagannath travels all over the world for Rath Yatras. Every time. So that is Jagannath's mercy. And He may appear not to have hands, but without His hands, so-called hands, He will consume the most amount of bhoga that's ever been offered in all the 3 worlds. And you all know that Jagannath's appetite is highly transcendental, right? And because of Jagannath's mercy, we are very happy with the prasadam, because it's coming from Him. The whole idea of Chapan Bhog is because of Jagannath. If not, no Chapan Bhog. Krishna is not so generous. And I remember His Holiness Narasimha Maharaj, When he welcomed two deities, Gaunitai deities, many years ago in somebody's house, he gave a lecture and he said, actually Gaunitai are so merciful, you don't even have to feed them. They live on a diet of kirtan, which means then you don't get any food, right? Because no bhoga is coming from them, right? So Jagannath is very, very merciful, appearing as if he has no hands and feet, but he is the most generous Lord. And not only is he that way, but his form is so beautiful and unique that it will attract millions of people. And then Narada says, there is a confidential reason for the Lord to come, and then we will end here. He says the confidential reason for the Lord to come into this world is because a long, long time ago, right, in Dwarka, the queens of Dwarka were seated one day, and Rohini Mata had come from Vrindavan, and she was spending a weekend with them. So they all turned to her and said, can we ask you a question? Every night when Krishna goes to sleep and take rest, he's always in his sleep. He's speaking about all his friends, all the gopas. He's talking about the gopis. He's talking about the cows and the calves. So he's talking so much of Vrindavan, but we don't know anything about Vrindavan. Please tell us about the Lord's pastimes in Vrindavan. And Rohini Mata said, I will tell you, but I have a condition. You have to close the doors. I will get Subhadra, the sister of Krishna, to stand guard. Because if Krishna and Balaram hear their own pastimes in Vrindavan, they will melt in ecstasy. They will be uncontrollable. So I will speak with you. And so that day was arranged, a meeting was held, door was closed, Subhadra Mai was outside, and the Lord's pastimes were openly spoken on a confidential platform by Rohini Mata to the queens. But because of the fact that Subhadra Mai heard this because she was just outside, she could hear. As she heard, she became completely in ecstasy. Her beautiful form of eyes, ears, nose started to melt. They became very large. Then Krishna and Balaram happened to pass by, because this is Krishna and Balaram. And they heard that, oh, our pastimes are being spoken about. And so they stood outside and they also heard, this is transcendental eavesdropping. We do this, isn't it? Two people talking in the room, we close the door, we put our head there, hoping it won't open. Krishna and Balaram started there. So they stood there and they heard. And as they heard, they became so overwhelmed by their own pastimes and the pastimes of the devotees that their bodies went into ecstasy. They lost their hands, withdrew, their legs withdrew, their eyes became very large with transcendental love and devotion, for the devotees. And in that way, their forms became never seen before. Narada was outside. As he was passing by, he saw these three beautiful forms. And he thought, my Lord, I have never seen these forms. They're so unique. And then Krishna came into transcendental composure. And he gave the benediction to Narada because Narada expressed a desire. And his desire was, what I have seen, please share with all the worlds. This is devotee. A devotee never keeps Krishna to himself. A devotee shares everything he has about Krishna. And so Krishna fulfilled the desire of Narada through the determination of Devakinandan Maharaj. Because of his desire to fulfill the desire of the world to see Krishna. And he did all of this with one pointed attention. 1, 2, 14. That's why we started the discussion today with 1 to 14. Now you see, all the elements of this pastime have come together. They have come together. And so, Narada said, so the Lord has come for that reason actually. That is the reason why he has come. So now, finally Brahma came, the day of welcoming the Lord came. The Lord was welcomed in a beautiful ceremony. He, Subhadra and Baladev were given the first Snan, and that's why we have Snan Yatra. Today is the transcendental appearance of the Lord in these forms in this world. That is the beauty. That is why we are here. And at the end of it all, Jagannath turned to Devakinandan Maharaj, and he told him, ask from me any benediction that you want. And you know what Devakinandan Maharaj said? I have only 2 benedictions to ask. 1, let this temple never be closed. Which is why if you go to Puri, you realize that the timings of the temple are very flexible actually. They are quite open, unlike most other temples. And the second thing he said, let me never have any descendants. Because no descendant of mine should claim this temple as his. Because this temple is for everyone. It is the temple for the whole world. Because this is the Lord of the universe. And so Brahma, so pleased, and he told Lord Jagannath that never have I seen a devotee give so much sacrifice, with so much determination, with so much devotion, and one pointed attention as Indradyumna Maharaj. And therefore, this has come to pass. So we must remember that we are all standing on the shoulders of giants. And these giants are devotees. Devotees like Indradyumna Maharaj, who gave so much sacrifice so that today we can see Jagannath. It took just one devotee with Tasmat Ekena Manasa to do that. Just imagine. And therefore, we must also take Snan Yatra back in our hearts. We must from today be determined to serve Krishna. No matter what happens. We must be one-pointed in our attention to Krishna. If we can't, take association of devotees so we help each other to be one-pointed in our attention. And most importantly, we should always desire to serve Krishna. There is only one thing that Krishna has given us in terms of free will, and that is your ichcha. Your ichcha is yours. It is yours to use in the service of the Lord, or yours to use in the service of Maya. If you use it in the service of Maya, then determination and all other qualities are of no value. But if you use your desire in the service of Krishna, every quality will become useful in the service of Krishna consciousness. Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Mai ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Gurudev ki Jai. If I go to Premanande, shall we sing for the pleasure of the Lord? Can I have the harmonium here, Prabhu? And myself, since I'm seated there. Thank you so much for coming today, Prabhu and Mataji. Very happy to see you, but more happy to see that we are all here because we want to serve Krishna. Please remember these points. And can I say one thing, Dr. Mataji, before you leave, can I say one thing? This entire episode that I related to you actually comes from a beautiful book, Sri Jagannath Priya Natakam. It was written lovingly as a service to Srila Prabhupada by His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. You know, he is the spiritual master of Dr. Mataji, Sudarshan. And Sunday is actually his Vyasa Puja. Right, Mataji? I won't be here, I'll be traveling. But I thought I want to use this opportunity to say, if you all can, please read this book. It is available. If you Google it, it is available. And if you read it, the mastery in which Maharaj presents this pastime is amazing. Maharaj composes the poems that he has. Prabhu, this one has, now you have this problem with the echo. So Maharaj has composed the poetry in that poem. I can do no justice. My elaboration is very rustic. But when you read the book, the whole flow of Sastras and the whole flow of Jagannath Leela is coming. And this is the purity of His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. Jagannath Priya Natakam. I can share it, but you'll find it. It's a very thin book and it's still available because I recently got it myself. Please read this. Every year, before Snan Yatra, you should read this pastime. And I hope one day, we will perform this pastime, right, as an offering by way of a drama. I really pray, I'm looking at all the organizers and the dramatists here. This is Natakam, it is a drama, and we should really do that. All glories to the assembled Vaishnavas. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Gurudev. Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Mai ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Bol. Dhananjay Prabhu, number 3. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna. Sukadeva Mai ki Jai. Jai Shri Snan Yatra Mahotsav ki Jai. Can we all rise for Shrine Aarti? Hare Krishna.
He gets given and